as we put more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, the planet gets hotter. As the planet gets hotter, we then start getting not just the challenge of dealing with higher temperatures, but also less predictable weather and a lot more extreme weather events, as we've been experiencing even here in the UK. Over the last couple of years, we're getting more droughts, we're getting more flooding, waterlogging of soils, creating actually even more challenges for doing the agriculture in the future. There's two things we really need to do, one of which is how do we make the existing agriculture and crop production more resilient? How do we adapt that to these warmer climates and also these more extreme weather events? But in addition to that, we really need to find a way of reversing the process. And the way in particular, or one of the ways that we can do that, is if we have fast-growing biomass plants, like this plant here, Miscanthus, if we grow that, as it removes the CO2, we'll harvest that at the end of the growing season, and then if we burn that and we capture the CO2 that gets emitted from the burning of that process, and we compress that CO2 and actually put that underground, and particularly if it gets locked up geologically, so particularly if it forms carbonates in the rocks, we've taken that carbon out of the atmosphere. So we've basically reversed that process that we particularly started during the Industrial Revolution and in the couple of centuries since then. But we can also use it to make construction materials, and those construction materials can be used in houses. Some of that could be involved in insulation, improve the performance of those houses, and we're locking up carbon in there. And particularly if we replace some materials, let's say expanded foams, that would otherwise involve the use of fossil fuels, we're getting multiple wins there. The other area we're particularly interested in at the moment is also being able to use the biomass to replace the coking coal in steel manufacture. So in effect, making green steel. So even at the moment in the UK, we're talking about going down the route of the electric arc furnaces, which uses recycled steel. That still needs a carbon source, so an additional carbon source to be in there, and that would normally be provided by coking coal. So in this case, we've been looking at a process to actually be able to replace that. So that's work that we're currently doing in terms of different ways that we can help to decarbonise industry. What we've been doing is developing new varieties. We went out and collected Miscanthus in Southeast Asia from a range of different environments, and have been crossing those and developing new varieties. We now have 7 new varieties that have been registered for biomass production. These are some of the first in the world specifically for that biomass production. A big part of what we're doing is trialling those. So we've trialed those in the past, we're continuing to trial those, including at scale. In addition to actually breeding new varieties and looking at how they can be processed for different end uses, we've also been engaging with policymakers in Wales, also in Scotland, and also in Westminster, in terms of actually how these could fit into agricultural policies, and in particular how they can help us meet greenhouse gas emission reduction targets. So particularly helping us to reach the big target of getting to net zero by 2050.